My name is William Couch, and this is Alfred Hitchcock, the greatest storyteller of all time. I believe that Alfred Hitchcock is one of the greatest storytellers of all time. His use of strong archetypical characters, as well as the 7 steps of storytelling, special techniques in audio and camera, makes him the greatest storyteller. Alfred Hitchcock was born on August 13, 1899, in London, England. He grew up in a very strict Roman Catholic family. He later attended St. Ignatius College and a school for engineering. In 1920, Hitchcock entered the film industry designing title cards for the famous players Lasky Company, then moved on to be a scenario writer and assistant director. The first film he directed officially was The Pleasure Garden in 1925, which ended up being a very popular film. There he met Alma Reville, which he became close to during his trademark film in 1926, The Lodger, which revolves around a family who suspects the rumor to be Jack the Ripper. After this film was released, he married Alma on December 2nd, 1926. He continued his career in England for a couple more years directing various films. Some of the more famous ones were The 39 Steps, as well as The Lady Vanishes. In 1939, Hitchcock moved to Hollywood, California, where he directed his first U.S. film, Rebecca, and it won Best Picture. Some of his top movies include The Lodger, 39 Steps, The Lady Vanishes, Rebecca, Suspicion, Lifeboat, Spellbound, Notorious, Rope, Strangers on a Train, Dial M for Murder, Rear Window, To Catch a Thief, The Trouble with Harry, The Man Who Knew Too Much, his own remake, Vertigo, North by Northwest, Psycho, The Birds, Torn Curtain, and finally Family Plot. Altogether, he has made a total of 67 films. Types of films. A number of Hitchcock's films revolve around espionage or murder, with mistaken identities, chase sequences, complicating and enlivening the plot with touches of dry humor and intrusions of horror to complete his mixture of cinematic elements. There are 3 main archetypes that resonate in all of Hitchcock's films. The most used archetypical character is the innocent man who is suspected, mistaken, or accused of a crime, and now that man must find the real criminal. The Lodge, The 39 Steps, Saboteur, Strangers on a Train, To Catch a Thief, The Wrong Man, North by Northwest, and Frenzy all share this common story. The second archetype that is prevalent in many of Hitchcock's films is the femme fatale archetype. This is where a woman manipulates and confuses the hero through her aura of attractiveness and danger. Hitchcock specifically uses a guilty woman who entangles a male protagonist and destroys him or is saved by him. The archetype is evident in Blackmail, Sabotage, Notorious, Rebecca, Vertigo, and Marnie. The final archetype is frequently in Hitchcock's horror and thrillers of a psychotic, murderous antagonist. These archetypes are all found in Hitchcock's films such as Shadow of a Doubt, Rope, Rear Window, and the most famous of them has to be Psycho. Hitchcock is known for his mastery in technical aspects of building and maintaining suspense, and has been labeled the master of suspense. He is also known for his innovative camera movements, editing techniques, and choice of sounds and music to create suspense. In Vertigo, he uses an elaborate push-pull technique to create the vertigo effect of looking down the staircase and creating the character's fear of heights. His ability to invoke human deceit, menace, and fear gave his psychological thrillers a large impact while still maintaining a sense of believability. Hitchcock's use of a twist in his plots and stories keeps his audience wondering what will happen next. Psycho, for example, begins as a heist and slowly turns into a murder mystery. This keeps the audience glued to their seats in anticipation to see what will happen next. Storytelling. Hitchcock believed that stories should be a glimpse into people's lives. In his film Rear Window, he proves this by putting the audience into Jimmy Stewart's shoes and makes you feel and learn everything that he does at the same pace. It makes the audience feel like a nosy neighbor peeping out of their windows and into others' lives. Rear Window. After breaking his leg, professional photographer Jeff is confined in his apartment using a wheelchair while he recuperates. His rear window looks out onto a small courtyard and several other apartments. During a summer heat wave, he passes the time by watching his neighbors. The tenants he can see include a dancer he nicknames Miss Torso, a lonely woman he nicknames Miss Lonely Heart, a songwriter, several married couples, and a middle-aged sculptor, and Lars Thorwald, a wholesale jewelry salesman with a bedridden wife. After Thorwald and his wife have an argument, Thorwald makes repeated late-night trips carrying his sample case. Jeff notices that Thorwald's wife is gone and sees Thorwald cleaning a large knife and handsaw. Later, Thorwald ties a large packing crate with heavy rope and has moving men haul it away. Jeff becomes obsessed with the theory that Thorwald murdered his wife. He explains his theory to his friend, a New York City police detective, and asks him to find out whether anyone actually picks up the packing crate. The detective looks into the situation but finds nothing suspicious. Soon after, a neighbor's dog is found dead with its neck broken. When the owner sees the lifeless body of her dog, she screams to the courtyard. The neighbors all rush to their windows except for Thorwald. Convinced that Thorwald is guilty, Jeff has Lisa slip an accusatory note under Thorwald's door so Jeff can watch his reaction when he reads it. Then, to get Thorwald away from his apartment, Jeff phones him and arranges a meeting at a bar. He thinks Thorwald may have buried something in the courtyard flower patch and killed the dog to keep it from digging it up. When Thorwald leaves, Lisa and Stella, the nurse, dig up the flowers but find nothing. Lisa then climbs the fire escape to Thorwald's apartment. When Thorwald returns and grabs Lisa, Jeff calls the police, who arrive in time to save her. With the police present, Jeff sees Lisa with her hands behind her back, wiggling her finger with Miss Thorwald's wedding ring on it. Thorwald also sees this, and realizes that she is signaling to Jeff across the courtyard. Jeff phones the detective, now convinced that Thorwald is guilty of something, and the nurse heads for the police station to post bail for Lisa, leaving Jeff alone. He soon realizes that Thorwald is coming to his apartment. When Thorwald enters the apartment, Jeff repeatedly sets off his camera flashbulbs, blinding Thorwald. Thorwald grabs Jeff and pushes him toward an open window. Jeff falls to the ground just as some police officers enter the apartment and others run to catch him. Thorwald confesses to the murder of his wife and the police arrest him. A few days later, the heat is lifted and Jeff rests peacefully in his wheelchair, now with cast on both legs. The lonely neighbor woman chats with the songwriter in his apartment. The dancer's lover returns home from the army. The couple whose dog was killed have a new dog now, and the newly married couples are bickering, and everything is normal again. The audio and video should be equally captivating according to Hitchcock. You can see this implemented in the most dramatic parts of the film, the birds, just before the birds actually attack. While they are squawking and chirping, strikes fear every time into the audience's hearts, right as they hear them. Hitchcock also implemented special effects into his films, but believes that the special effects should not have to take the focus away from the story. You can see this in Hitchcock's films, for example, North by Northwest, when the characters are running around on top of Mount Rushmore. It took many different shots and complex special effects to achieve a believable atmosphere, but it did not draw focus away from the main plot and story. Awards. Alfred Hitchcock has won a total of 31 awards and 17 nominations. He has won a Golden Globe as well as an Academy Award. He has also been awarded AFI's Lifetime Achievement Award and has been knighted by Queen Elizabeth II. In my opinion, through Hitchcock's mastery in cinematic suspense, archetypical characters, and his careful attention to detail in his stories, and the 7-step process is what makes him the greatest storyteller of all time.